Commander Valak stood on the command deck of his massive warship, staring down at the blue and green planet below. Earth looked so peaceful from space, with its white clouds swirling over the continents. His three-fingered hands gripped the metal, railing as he watched his fleet of 200 ships position themselves around the planet. "Sir, all battle groups are in position," reported his second-in-command, Officer Zeth. "The humans appear to have detected our presence. Their primitive satellites are sending signals across their planet." Valak nodded slowly. The intelligence? Reports had been very clear about this species. Humans were divided into many small nations that fought each other constantly. They had basic nuclear weapons and simple aircraft, but nothing that could threaten a proper space fleet. Most importantly, they had no unified command structure. When one nation fell, the others would likely surrender rather than face the same fate. "Begin the assault," Valak commanded. "Target their major population centers first. When their leaders see the destruction, they will beg for mercy." Across the planet, Captain Kim Day was having breakfast with his wife and daughter in their small apartment in Seoul when the air raid sirens began to wail. He grabbed his uniform and ran to the window. In the distance, he could see strange lights falling from the sky like burning stars. His phone buzzed with an emergency message. All military personnel were to report immediately to their stations. Kim kissed his family goodbye, not knowing it would be the last normal moment of his life. At the Seoul Defense Command Center, chaos filled the rooms. Screens showed the same terrifying sight happening all over the world. Massive alien ships were dropping smaller craft over every major city. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Mumbai, all were under attack at the same time. "Sir, we're getting reports from everywhere," shouted Lieutenant Park Hana over the noise of ringing phones and shouting officers. "The aliens are landing troops in Central Park, Red Square, and Trafalgar Square. They're not just attacking one country, they're attacking everyone." Kim stared at the screens showing alien soldiers marching through the streets of cities around the world. These creatures were tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. They carried weapons that fired bright blue energy beams, cutting through human tanks like paper. "How many ships?" Kim asked. "Intelligence estimates over 200 vessels, sir. Each one is larger than our biggest aircraft carrier." Kim felt his blood run cold. 200 ships meant thousands of alien soldiers, maybe millions, and they were attacking everywhere at once. But as he watched the screens, something strange happened in his mind. Instead of feeling afraid, he felt angry. "Sir, what are your orders?" Park asked. Kim thought about his wife and daughter probably hiding in their apartment building's basement right now. He thought about all the families across the world doing the same thing. These aliens had made a choice to come to Earth. They had chosen to attack innocent people in their homes. "Get me a direct line to the other defense commands around the world," Kim ordered. "All of them. American, Russian, Chinese, European, everyone." "Sir, some of those nations are our enemies," Park said carefully. "Not anymore," Kim replied, his voice growing harder. "As of right now, there are only two types of beings on this planet, humans and invaders. And I don't care what flag you fly, if you're human, you're on our side." Within hours, Kim found himself on a video call with military leaders from around the globe. American generals, Russian colonels, Chinese admirals, and officers from dozens of other nations all stared at him through their screens. Many of these people had been enemies just hours ago. "Gentlemen and ladies," Kim said in English, "I think we can all agree that our previous differences seem very small right now." General Sarah Mitchell from the American Pentagon nodded grimly. "The aliens have taken control of Manhattan. They're using some kind of energy shields to protect their landing zones. Our missiles just bounce off." "Same in Moscow," reported Colonel Alexei Petrov. "They're not trying to negotiate. They're not asking for surrender. They're just taking whatever they want." Kim studied the faces on his screen. These were professional soldiers, people who had spent their lives preparing for war, but they had prepared to fight other humans, not aliens with technology hundreds of years ahead of their own. "I think they made a mistake," Kim said quietly. "What do you mean?" asked General Mitchell. They think we're like other species they've conquered. They probably expect us to surrender when we see how powerful they are. They're attacking our cities because they think that will break our will to fight. Kim paused, looking at each face on the screen. But they don't understand something important about humans. We don't surrender when someone attacks our home. We get angry. And when humans get angry, we don't think about the odds. We don't think about whether we can win. We just fight. As if to prove his point, reports began coming in from around the world. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, human forces were fighting back everywhere. Police officers were shooting at alien soldiers with their pistols. Civilians were throwing rocks and bottles. It was hopeless, but nobody was giving up. The aliens had expected quick victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting an entire planet that refused to quit. 3 months had passed since the aliens first landed on Earth. The major cities were now under alien control, but the victory Commander Valak had expected never came. Instead of a conquered planet, he found himself ruling over empty buildings while the real war happened in the shadows. General Li Tay crouched in a tunnel beneath what used to be Busan. The city above was filled with alien patrols, but down, here in the old subway system, humanity was planning its revenge. The tunnel walls were covered with maps, photos, and stolen alien equipment. "How many cells do we have active?" Lee asked Major Yoon Ha-jin, who sat at a makeshift desk surrounded by radio equipment. 43 groups in this region alone, Yoon replied, her face lit by the glow of multiple screens. Each group has between 10 and 50 fighters. They hit supply convoys, sabotage alien equipment, then disappear before the enemy can respond. Lee nodded with satisfaction. The aliens controlled the cities during the day, but at night, the cities belonged to the humans. Every alien soldier who walked alone disappeared. Every piece of equipment left unguarded was either stolen or destroyed. Dr. Cho Min-woo worked frantically in her underground laboratory, surrounded by pieces of captured alien technology. Before the invasion, she had been a quantum physicist at Seoul National University. Now she was humanity's best hope for understanding the enemy's weapons. The energy rifles work on a principle we never discovered, she explained to the group of resistance fighters gathered around her workbench. They convert matter directly into energy, then focus it into a beam. But I think I found their weakness. She held up a small device that looked like a radio. This creates interference with their weapon systems. It won't stop them completely, but it makes their shots less accurate and drains their power faster. Captain Jang Soo-ho, a former tank commander who now led a guerrilla unit, picked up the device. "How many can you make?" "Give me more equipment and I can make hundreds," Min-woo replied. "But I need more alien technology to study. We need to capture more of their weapons intact." That same night, Soo-ho led his team through the ruins of Seoul. They moved like ghosts between the broken buildings, avoiding the alien patrols that swept the streets with bright searchlights. Their target was an alien supply depot in what used to be Gangnam District. The aliens had turned the area into a fortress with energy barriers and guard towers. But they made one mistake. They thought like conquerors, not like people defending their home. Soo-ho and his team had grown up in these streets. They knew every alley, every basement, every hidden path. "Remember," Soo-ho whispered to his team as they crawled through a drainage pipe, "we're not trying to win a battle. We're trying to make them afraid to walk our streets." The attack lasted only 10 minutes. Soo-ho's team emerged from sewers and basements, destroyed 3 alien vehicles, stole a crate of energy weapons, and vanished back into the tunnels before the aliens could even sound their alarms. Commander Valak stood in his command center, staring at reports from across the planet. Every day brought new casualties, new equipment losses, new problems. His officers looked tired and nervous. "Sir, we lost another supply convoy in the European sector," reported Officer Zeth. "That's the 5th one this week. The humans are using our own weapons against us now." "How is that possible?" Valak demanded. "Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs." "They're learning, sir. Our intelligence suggests they have scientists studying our equipment. Some of their attacks show knowledge of our weaknesses that they shouldn't possess." Valak walked to the large window that showed the city below. During the day, Seoul looked peaceful. Alien soldiers patrolled the empty streets. Alien vehicles moved supplies. Alien flags hung from the buildings. But he knew that beneath the surface, the humans were watching, waiting, planning. "Sir," Zeth continued carefully, "perhaps we should consider negotiating with their leaders. Offer them terms for surrender." Valak laughed bitterly. "What leaders? We destroyed their governments in the first week. There's no one left to negotiate with." That was the problem, Valak realized. On other worlds, they had captured the ruling class and the rest of the population had submitted. But humans didn't seem to need leaders to tell them to fight. Every human was a potential enemy. Back in the tunnels, Li Tay received a radio message that made him smile for the first time in months. Similar resistance networks had formed in every major city on Earth. New York, London, Moscow, Tokyo. Everywhere the aliens had landed, humans had gone underground and started fighting back. "Sir," said Park Hana, who had survived the fall of Seoul and joined the resistance, "we're getting reports that the aliens are requesting reinforcements from their home worlds. They're running out of soldiers." Lee looked around at the faces of his fighters. These were teachers, factory workers, students, shop owners, ordinary people who had been forced to become warriors. They were tired, hungry, and outnumbered, but they refused to give up. "Good," Lee said. "Let them bring more ships, let them bring their entire fleet. They still don't understand what they're fighting." Outside, an alien patrol walked past the hidden entrance to the tunnel. The soldiers looked nervous, their weapons ready, their eyes searching every shadow. They had come to Earth expecting to find a weak species ready for conquest. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand, an entire planet that had decided to fight. 2 years had passed since the first alien ships darkened Earth's skies. The world had changed beyond recognition, but not in the way Commander Valak had planned. Instead of ruling over a conquered planet, he found himself trapped in an endless war against an enemy that refused to die. Captain Jang Soo-ho crouched behind the wreckage of what used to be a shopping mall in Seoul. His team of 20 fighters moved silently through the rubble, each carrying weapons that would have seemed impossible 2 years ago. The rifles in their hands fired the same blue energy beams as alien weapons, but they had been modified by human engineers to work with human hands. "Target is 2 blocks ahead," whispered Sergeant Kim Bora, looking through a scope that combined human optics with alien sensors. 3 transport vehicles, maybe 40 enemy soldiers. Suho studied the alien convoy through his own modified scope. The vehicles carried supplies from the spaceport to the alien base in what used to be Gangnam District. This convoy made the same trip every Tuesday at exactly the same time. The aliens had become predictable, and predictable enemies made easy targets. "Teams 2 and 3 moved to positions Alpha and Bravo." Suho spoke quietly into his radio. "Wait for my signal." The attack began with silence. Human snipers, hidden in buildings on both sides of the street, fired their stolen energy weapons at the alien drivers. The convoy stopped immediately as the lead vehicle crashed into a building. Then chaos erupted. Suho's fighters emerged from every direction: rooftops, sewers, burned-out shops. They moved with the precision of professional soldiers, but these weren't career military. Bora had been a nurse before the invasion. The man next to her had sold insurance. The teenager covering their retreat had been in high school. The battle lasted exactly 4 minutes. When the smoke cleared, all 40 alien soldiers lay dead, their vehicles destroyed, their weapons captured. Suho's team had lost no one. "Collect everything useful and fall back," Suho ordered. "The response team will be here in 10 minutes. As they disappeared back into the ruins, Suho allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. 2 years ago, this same attack would have required 50 human soldiers and would have cost half their lives. Now they fought like the aliens. Fast, efficient, deadly. 3,000 kilometers away, Dr. Cho Min-woo stood in her new laboratory, built inside an abandoned mine in the mountains outside Seoul. The underground facility buzzed with activity, as dozens of scientists and engineers worked to unlock alien secrets. The power source is incredible, Minwoo explained to General Li Tae as they walked past tables covered with alien technology. One of their energy cells contains more power than our largest nuclear reactor. But the real breakthrough is their manufacturing system. She led him to a machine that looked like a metal box with glowing blue panels. This device can build almost anything if you feed it the right materials. We've used it to create weapons, vehicles, even medical equipment. The aliens probably have hundreds of these on their ships. Lee studied the machine with interest. Can we build more of them? We're trying, but their technology is still beyond us in some areas. However, we don't need to build them. Minwoo smiled. We just need to steal them. That night, in orbit, above Earth, Commander Valak paced nervously in his command center. The latest casualty reports lay scattered across his desk, each one telling the same story. His forces were losing. Sir, the humans have captured another supply base, reported Officer Zeth, his voice tired and worried. That's the third one this month. They're using our own weapons and vehicles against us. Valak slammed his fist on the desk. How are they? Learning so fast? 2 years ago, they couldn't even fly to their own moon. Our scientists believe they're reverse engineering our technology, Zeth replied. Some of the weapons we've recovered from human fighters show modifications we didn't think were possible with their knowledge level. What about reinforcements from the homeworlds? Zeth hesitated. The High Command is concerned about sending more ships. Every vessel we send to Earth requires supplies and soldiers. The humans are destroying our supply lines faster than we can rebuild them. Valak walked to the window and looked down at Earth. From space, the planet looked the same as it had 2 years ago. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But he knew that beneath that peaceful surface, millions of humans were planning his destruction. On Earth, Major Yoon Ha-jin sat in a command bunker that had been carved into a mountain. Around her, dozens of radio operators coordinated with resistance cells across the globe. The war had become a network, thousands of small groups working together without central command. London reports successful strike on alien fuel depot, called out one operator. Moscow team has captured intact transport vehicle. Tokyo requests backup for major assault. Yoon marked each report on a massive map that covered one wall of the bunker. Red pins showed alien positions. Blue pins showed human resistance cells. 2 years ago, the map had been mostly red. Now it was mostly blue. Ma'am, said Lieutenant Park Hana, we're getting reports that alien patrols are staying closer to their bases. They're not venturing into human-controlled areas as much as before. Yoon nodded with grim satisfaction. The hunters had become the hunted. The aliens who had once walked confidently through human cities now moved in large groups, afraid to travel alone. The tide of war was turning, and everyone could feel it. Colonel Bae Hyon floated silently in the darkness of space, watching the massive alien battleship through his helmet display. 3 years of war had led to this moment, the first human assault on an alien vessel in orbit. His strike team of 12 soldiers drifted toward their target, using jetpacks built from captured alien technology. Remember, we need their navigation computers intact, Hyon whispered into his radio. Those computers will tell us where their home worlds are located. The soldiers behind him nodded silently. Each wore a spacesuit that combined human engineering with alien materials. Their weapons were energy rifles taken from dead alien soldiers and modified to work in the vacuum of space. 3 years ago, none of these humans had ever been in space. Now they were about to board an enemy warship. Sergeant Wanda He, floating beside Hyon, studied the alien ship through her scope. Weak point identified, sir. Their docking bay has minimal security. They don't expect attacks from space. Why would they? Replied Hyon grimly. Until today, humans couldn't even reach orbit without their permission. The boarding operation began in complete silence. Dahi used a cutting tool to slice through the ship's outer hull while the rest of the team prepared to enter. The aliens inside had no idea that death was coming for them. On Earth's surface, Admiral Song Mi-young stood on the bridge of humanity's first real warship, the UES Incheon. The vessel had been built in secret over 2 years, using alien technology and human determination. It looked nothing like the sleek, alien ships. It was rough, angular, and covered with weapons. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Captain Kim Day, who had been promoted after leading the Seoul Resistance for 3 years. "The fleet is in position." Mi Young looked at the display screen showing 12 human warships surrounding a cluster of alien vessels near the moon. Each human ship was smaller than the alien craft, but they had advantages the aliens didn't expect: human tactics, human unpredictability, and human anger. "Begin the attack," Mi Young ordered. "Remember the doctrine, no mercy for those who made Earth bleed." The battle in space lasted 20 minutes. Human ships moved like wolves hunting deer, using speed and teamwork to overwhelm the larger alien vessels. They had learned from 3 years of ground combat: hit fast, hit hard, then disappear before the enemy could respond. When the shooting stopped, 8 alien ships drifted powerless in space while the human fleet circled like vultures. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Colonel Park Yoo-jin led the largest human military operation in history. Intelligence gathered from captured alien computers had revealed the location of their main supply base, a massive space station hidden among the floating rocks. "All units, this is command." Yoo-jin spoke into his radio as hundreds of human fighters approached the alien station. "This base supplies every alien force in our solar system. If we take it, we cut off their lifeline." The assault force included soldiers who had fought in the ruins of every major Earth city. General Lee Tae commanded troops who had survived the fall of Busan. Captain Jang Soo-ho led veterans of the Seoul Underground. Major Yoon Ha-jin coordinated pilots who had learned to fly captured alien craft. These weren't the same humans who had watched helplessly as alien ships descended 3 years ago. War had changed them, hardened them, taught them that survival meant becoming more dangerous than their enemies. The alien base fell in 6 hours. By the end of the battle, 3,000 alien soldiers were dead, and their supply station was under human control. More importantly, the humans had captured the station's computer systems intact. Dr. Cho Min-woo worked frantically to decode the alien data files. What she found made her hands shake with excitement and anger. The files contained detailed information about dozens of alien worlds, including the locations of their colonies and military bases. "They've been doing this for centuries," Min-woo explained to the gathered military leaders. "Planet after planet, species after species. They attack, they conquer, they strip the world of resources, then they move on to the next target." General Lee studied the star maps showing alien territory. "How many worlds have they destroyed?" "At least 50 that I can identify from these files. Maybe more." Min-woo's voice was filled with disgust. "Earth wasn't their first victim. We were just next on their list." Captain Jang Soo-ho stared at images of dead worlds, planets that had once been green and blue like Earth, now gray and lifeless. What happened to the people who lived there? Enslaved, relocated, or eliminated? Min-woo replied quietly. "The aliens don't see other species as people. They see them as resources to be harvested." The room fell silent as the human leaders absorbed this information. They had spent 3 years fighting to save their own world, not knowing that they were fighting for countless others as well. "Sir," said Major Yoon Ha-jin, "what are your orders?" Lee looked around at the faces of his officers. These were people who had lost everything: homes, families, entire cities. They had fought for 3 years just to survive. Now they were learning that their enemy had done this before and would do it again to other innocent worlds. "We're going to visit their home worlds," Lee said finally. "It's time they learned what it feels like when someone comes to destroy your planet." The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was just getting started. 5 years after the first alien ship appeared in Earth's sky, President Lim Ji-woo walked into the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council. The massive chamber could hold representatives from 1,000 different worlds, but today it felt almost empty. Many species that once filled these seats no longer existed. Ji-woo wore a simple black uniform with no decorations except for a small patch showing Earth's blue surface. Behind her walked General Park Yoo-jin and Admiral Song Mi-young, both carrying weapons that made the alien delegates shift nervously in their seats. The remaining members of the Galactic Council watched the humans with fear. These beings had heard the stories, seen the reports, witnessed the destruction that followed wherever human ships appeared. In 5 short years, humanity had gone from an unknown species to the most feared military force in the galaxy. Honored representatives, Jiwoo began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. I come before you today to announce that the Zephyrian Collective no longer exists as a threat to any world in this galaxy. A ripple of whispers moved through the assembled aliens. Everyone knew the Zephyrians had been the most powerful military force in known space. They had conquered hundreds of worlds over thousands of years. The idea that they could be completely destroyed seemed impossible. Their homeworlds have been liberated, Jiwoo continued, using the word liberated in a way that made several delegates swallow nervously. Their military forces have been disbanded. Their weapons have been confiscated. Those who committed crimes against innocent species have been judged by their victims. Ambassador Kelth of the Rigelian Federation raised one of his forearms. President Lim, surely you mean they have surrendered? Surely there were negotiations? Jiwoo's expression didn't change. Ambassador Kelth, when the Zephyrians attacked Earth, did they offer us negotiations? When they destroyed our cities and killed our people, did they show mercy? The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. The Zephyrian leadership was given the same chance they gave their victims, Jiwoo said simply. None. On Earth, construction, crews worked to rebuild Seoul while former alien prisoners of war helped clear rubble from the streets. The city bore new scars, buildings with strange architecture built from alien materials, parks dedicated to resistance fighters who had died in the tunnels below. General Park Yoo-jin stood on the balcony of the New Earth Defense Headquarters, watching the mixed crews work together. Some of the aliens had been soldiers, others had been engineers or scientists. All of them had surrendered when human forces reached their home worlds. Sir, said Captain Wanda He, approaching with a tablet in her hands, the outer colonies are requesting more defense ships. The hegemony is expanding into the outer rim, and the local species are getting nervous. Yoo-jin took the tablet and scrolled through the requests. Dozens of worlds that had never heard of Earth 5 years ago were now begging for human protection. They had seen what happened to species that threatened human interests. Tell them we'll consider their requests, Yoo-jin replied. But make sure they understand our priorities. Earth's security comes first. Always. Dahi nodded and made notes on her tablet. Sir, what about the hegemony itself? Intelligence suggests they're building up their military forces. Yoo-jin smiled coldly. The hegemony was a collection of aggressive species that had been expanding their territory for decades. Before the human war, they had been preparing to challenge the Zephyrians for control of this part of the galaxy. Let them build, Yoo-jin said. If they're smart, they'll remember what happened to the last group that thought they could intimidate us. In the rebuilt underground laboratories beneath Seoul, Dr. Cho Min-woo worked on projects that would have been impossible 5 years ago. Her team now included alien scientists who had chosen to work with humanity rather than face the fate of their former leaders. The new shield generators are ready for testing, reported Dr. Zekai, a former Zephyrian engineer who had defected during the war. They can protect an entire city from orbital bombardment. Min-woo nodded approvingly. Good. Install them around all major population centers. I want Earth to be untouchable. Doctor, said another team member, we're also receiving requests from other species. They want to purchase our defensive technology. Approved purchases only, Min-woo replied, and only to species that have signed the non-aggression treaty. Anyone who threatens Earth or our allies gets nothing. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Jiwoo prepared to leave. Her speech had been short and simple, but its message was clear. Humanity now controlled this region of space, and they would use that power to prevent what had happened to Earth from happening to anyone else. President Lim called out Ambassador Vorth of the Centauri Alliance. What are humanity's intentions toward the rest of us? Will you expand your territory? Will you demand tribute? Jiwoo paused at the chamber doors and looked back at the assembled aliens. Many of them represented species that had been bullied or threatened by the Zephyrians for generations. Others came from worlds that had lost friends and family to Zephyrian conquest. "We want the same thing we've always wanted," Jiwoo said. "To be left alone to live in peace. But if anyone threatens Earth, if anyone attacks our people or our allies, they will learn what the Zephyrians learned." She gestured to her guards, both of whom bore scars from the war. "They will learn that making Earth a battlefield doesn't start a war you can win. It starts a war that ends with your complete destruction." The chamber remained silent long after the humans had left. The new galactic order had been established, and its message was written in the ashes of an empire that had thought itself invincible. Earth was untouchable now, and the galaxy would remember why.